Hello everybody and welcome back to Aurora 4X. I of course am Sir Beardian, and today we are going to be designing our general survey fleet, our initial general survey fleet. Now, held a poll, accepted all your comments and votes, and the total summary and the three options were to do a carrier survey, an all-in-one survey ship, or a small fleet of specialized ships. And the polls are 1 vote for all-in-one, 3 votes for the specialized ships, and 5 for the carrier surveys. So carrier survey wins. So that means that we are going to be using a single carrier style mothership that is also going to be carrying a bunch of survey parasites. That also means that we are going to really be jumping directly into carrier gameplay, and that is going to be a very interesting experience. So, first things first, let's figure out what we actually need. Now, first up, we are going to want to design our survey ships. Okay. So this one is going to be a grab a survey ship. I'm going to call that one Mini Geo. I'm going to make a secondary one, which will be a grab survey ship. I'm going to rename that Mini Grav. And we are also going to need a can we do a survey carrier? No, but we can do a survey command ship. That'll do. And we are going to call this one... I'll leave the name undecided for the moment. Okay. Mini Geo, Mini Grav. First things first, we're going to strip out everything. And we are going to put in one single gravitational survey sensor. Okay, so that's 300 tons. Now, fighters are very iffy, a little bit iffy. So let's go and pull up our little unified ship calculator. Okay. So, mass target. Now, if we want to keep it a fighter, it has to be under 500 tons. So that's what we're going to be using. The speed is not really going to be too much of a concern. And we have nuclear pulse engines. Engine size. Okay, so how much can we actually afford? Alright. Not you. You. Okay. So, 305 tons, we have about 150 tons worth of engines, because we can't fit 200 without going over, so 150 tons. That leaves us with a hull size of 3. That'll also give us a little bit of fuel as well. Now, what will this give us so far? Well, we want to override that with, no, just one engine. Override for one engine. Okay, so one engine will give our fighter a speed for one of these engines will give us our Scout fighter a speed of 3,600, and with 65,000 liters of fuel, will give us 100,000 million, 10 billion kilometers. Yeah, 10 billion kilometers. I don't know, because we need a payload tonnage of 300, right? If we do a payload tonnage of 228, that's not going to be enough to fit our actual grav survey sensor. So we need this to be at least 300. That means that we're going to need a little bit less fuel. So let's go for 50,000 liters. Okay. Okay. And I got that out of me. Alright, but that'll give us only 8.4 billion kilometers. We kind of want more. Okay, so we have one engine. What can we increase our range? What can we do to increase our range? Well, can we drop the power mod? Power mod of dropping it to 1 will give us a range of 23 billion kilometers and a speed of 2400. That's actually really cool. We can do that. That will be extremely useful because 50,000 liters is not that much. And power mod of 1 at 2400 is an okay speed for a little survey fighter. 23 billion kilometers. It's not enough for a single ship, but if you have like 10 surveyors, 23 billion could very easily be enough. Can we get more? Okay, well, let's drop power mod further. Let's drop it down to 0.5. That'll give us 131 billion kilometers at a speed of 1200. Well, the speed's kind of crap, but the range is exquisite. That's a very nice range. We didn't get a fuel efficiency tech, did we? No, not yet. Okay. So, at a half power mod, for the size 3 engine, a single one, we can get a reasonably low, it's a low speed. It's very, very low. I'm not too happy with the speed, but the range is fantastic. I mean, in fact, we can potentially... Okay, let's see what we can do with this. Okay. So, how much is 50,000 liters of fuel gonna weigh? 50,000 liters. Yep, 360 tons. That's too much fuel. We can't fit a 3-hull size engine in that. Okay. We also need a longer deployment time. So 370 liters of fuel. 370 tons. Yeah, that is definitely not fantastic. So we're going to have to cut our fuel down a little bit. 350, 150 tons. This probably actually won't even fit. How much range can we get for 30,000? 30,000, 78 billion. I could do with 78 billion. Alright, if we have to drop it down to 20,000, that's 52. 52 billion is still good. That'll easily get like a planet, all of its moons, and then back to the carrier if need be. And that's like a year of flight time as well. That could work. Could do that. Okay. We can do that. Let's do that. Okay. So, we're going to try for 30,000. Let's get our engine. Now, we don't have to worry about the geosurvey because they're going to be basically clones of each other, except one's going to have grav, one's going to have the geological. So that's fine. So, nuclear pulse, we are going for half power mod, consumption of 0.8, and hull size of 3. Now, now I was jumping pretty high. Well, let's see if we can tweak it a little bit. Okay, because 1 year of flight time, that's not that great. What can we do with 20,000 tons? Well, if we... Okay, so if we have it at 0.5, gives us 52. Now, what's interesting is that if we raise this, our range actually drops pretty significantly. Like, we lose 10 billion straight up by increasing the power mod, and we get like almost no speed out of it. 320 compared to 1200. Right? We get like 100. We get 120 kilometers a second extra speed, but for losing 10 billion kilometers range. So we definitely want lower power mod, even though it will result in a slower ship. The slow speed is just going to have to be something we have to suffer. Okay. Cool. Good enough. Alright, 12 EP lines up. Yes, it does. Good, 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 good. Done. Okay. Mini surveyor engine. Done. Better idea. Nuclear pulse. Mini surveyor engine. Okay. So that's our engine done. Now, we don't really need anything else for our little survey fighter, okay? Because we've got everything we need. You don't really have to worry too much about this because we don't actually have an engineering space that we can even fit in there. Our smallest one is 50 tons, and that is way too much. Now, there is a reasonable chance that that something will fail, but there's only a 70% chance. Now, as long as it's not the engine that fails, no big deal. Okay, we have three fuel tanks. We have 3 crew quarters, but that's going to be a little bit more at the end of it. And we have the grav survey sensor. If we have a look, well, we'll have to wait until the engine's actually mounted, but I don't expect that we're going to suffer engine failures. And as long as we don't suffer an engine failure, it's not going to be a big deal. Okay, so dump that. 3 smalls and a geological sensor. Hang on. Oh, it's classed as a freighter for some reason. Weird. Okay. That'll fix itself once we put the engine, because the engine's going to be a military engine. Okay. So are they identical? Yes. Good. Okay. Hang on, what's the Newcastle? Oh, that's a new one. Okay. What the hell? Hang on, what the hell is this? Okay, I got no idea what it is. Must be junk. Okay. Survey command ship. We actually don't need this. No gravy. Okay. Survey command ship. So this one is going to be, let's go. So our fighters are going to be super slow, right? So they're going to take a long time to actually do any surveys. It's not going to be as fast as a larger ship. So they're going to take a long time. So we need a lot of time on our mothership. So I'm going to go with 48 months. So that's 4 years worth. That's a nice long amount of time. We are going with commercial engines because it doesn't have to be fast. Yeah, let's go with commercial for the time being. It's not a huge deal, but we're going to go with commercial for the time being. And the nuclear... Hang on, no, there's a nuclear thermal. Ew, no. We need nuclear pulse. Is that right? Yeah, we need nuclear pulse. Drop that to 50 and up this to 50. Done. Okay. Hangar deck. Here we go. Okay. Now, each fighter is 500 tons. So each hangar deck is going to be able to handle 2 of our scout fighters each. So the question is, how many scout fighters do we want? I'm thinking 2 gravitational surveyors, because they can make their way around the system, and then maybe about 6 geological surveyors, because they can make their way around through all the planets. So that's 8. So we need 4 hangar decks. Okay. There is one other thing that I want, and one other thing that I want is actually a scout ship, something that we'll send into a system first, just to make sure that nothing's in there. So we'll bring 2 of those, 1 electromagnetic and 1 thermal. So 1 additional hangar deck is what we want. Okay, so we have 5 hangar decks. What do we want out of the okay, so what do we need on the ship? Now, to create a hangar deck, to create a carrier, there are a few things that you really need. Obviously, hangar decks. Right, it's a given. You can also use boat bays, of course, but you don't want to use boat bays for an actual carrier. Hangar decks are much more space and cost efficient. Boat bays are only if you need 1 individual ship on like a small, on a smaller ship. So boat bays are generally not worth it except in niche situations. So hangar deck we have. It's also going to cost vendorite, which we're definitely going to need more vendorite for these things. Hangar deck we definitely want. That is very important. We also want maintenance supplies. So we're going to bring 2 of these maintenance storage bays. I'm also going to bring some engineering. Not too much, but we'll go for 8 of these. They're not useful right now, but they're going to be useful once the ship gets a little bit bigger. Once we start sticking engines on it. We're also going to need plenty of fuel. 2 million liters will be very, very more than enough. We have a bridge, and what I might actually do, we don't have the tech for it, but it's en route. I will actually want to see if we can put a flag bridge on this thing as well, so we can bring a task force that has survey bonus focus on it, and that will put a few more jobs as well for our commanders. I'm not going to put anything resembling weapons on it at the moment, but I will be putting larger versions of our thermal and electromagnetic sensors. And do we actually have tech for it? Yes, we have thermal and, well, we will have electromagnetic because we have actives. Okay. One other very important thing that you need, so you need fuel and you need maintenance supplies, and because your fighters and parasite craft will refuel and repair using your MSP and your mothership's fuel. So these are going to be very important for our fighters. MSP less so, but our fighters are more likely to suffer maintenance failures than the actual command ship will. But the other very important thing is this thing, flight crew berths. Flight crew berths are excess capacity of crew, and you need your flight crew berths to be greater or equal to the crew of your parasite ships. Now, there's no point setting it up right now, because A, we don't know exactly how many crew there will be on the ship anyway, and although our engines will actually only need 1 crew, so it'll probably be around 11. But we also don't know exactly how many crew our mothership will have, so that will of course need to be adjusted as well. But this is what we have so far. We will continue expanding on this once we actually have a few more technologies that we want. So what are we doing? Capacitor, rage capacitor. We need. Do we actually need anything from here? Well, some sensors will be nice. But no, we need this thing. Okay, so we need this thing. So cancel a capacitor rate for now. We need a commercial pulse engine for our command ship. And we also need our... delete that. We also need our nuclear pulse mini surveyor engine. Stick that in there. And then you can put the capacitor recharge back in. And then go for that maybe. Okay, so that's our engine. What else do we need? That's it for now, I think. Yeah. We're also going to need those sensors. So design, thermal sensor, and it will be a hull size of, actually, let's bring you back. If we can, because these things don't need too much range, they just need to run in and out, but they need to have a little more speed. So they need to be faster than the other ships. If we have only 2 engine, if we only have a size 2 engine, that doesn't hurt the range too much because the fuel economy is only like 1% less. But if we up the power mod up to 1.5, that hurts the range a little bit, but we get significantly more speed out of it. How much is this going to hurt fuel? Barely anything. So 3600 speed and 3.3 billion kilometers is enough to get into a system and back out, or at the absolute minimum into a system and then have the carrier come and collect it later. So I think this particular engine is what we're going to be using for our Surveyor, and 3 should be enough to fit it, but because we can make it smaller, I'm going to hold off on getting the sensors just for now, and I will actually wait until our little fighter engine is done, just in case we need to do something funky with the fuel. So let's get started. Now that we're done talking, the other thing, actually, what we need to do is we also, very importantly, we don't have any actual fighter production, so we need fighter factories. We definitely need fighter factories. Let's get 100 fighter factories operational ASAP. First thing that's going to be done is... yeah, you know what? We're going to shift our construction factory production to fighter factory production when that's done. So, there we go. Okay. I'm wondering if we need to... yeah, because our command should replace this thing, so we won't need too much out of that. Commerce solids up to 5 civilian mining colonies. That's great. Commercial nuclear pulse engines. Done. Excellent. Oh, what else got completed? Oh, we got it in one go. Okay, so we just got both of them instantly. Okay. So now that we have those engines, let's go mount them into our ships. So... new pulse, mini surveyor. Okay, here's where we run into issues. Getting a fighter up to 500 tons is really difficult because of this. All right, anything below exactly 10 is rounded off, is calculated to the 5-ton. Anything above 10 is rounded off to the next highest number. So this is actually 11 for counting tonnage. So what we need to do is we need to shave 0.4 of a hull size off our fuel. And as expected, interestingly enough, this fuel storage is actually 0.2, so that's actually not enough. So it's actually not going to be possible to get this ship down without shaving off almost all the fuel. And 10,000 kilometers, or 10,000 liters, is 26 billion kilometers compared to 52. That's a pretty significant drop. Okay, that's really significant. 26 and a half. It's still almost a year of actual travel, but I think we might need to cut the deployment time down a little bit. Can we do 9 months? Does that do anything for us? 9.8. This only shows up at 0.1. Okay, fuel storage, small. Oh. Okay, so deployment time 12 is too much. We're 11. 11 will do. Okay. That was actually enough. How? Tiny, small, small. Small, small, small. Okay, so the 12 needs 3 smalls up from a tiny. And a small is a size 1, while a tiny is a 0.1. So that jumps it by 0.9, apparently. Although this only jumps by 0.2. I don't know. Point is, it works. It's 1 less month, but we get the 52 billion kilometers. Which actually, now that you look at it, is actually excessive anyway, because we have way more than a year worth of travel. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. We could get better armor. 5.5 and 5. 5. How much armor do we actually need if we shift this to... Because... So our mass is 56 tons. If we shift to the high density germanium, 46. That's around 10 tons, which is a fifth but 0.15. Might not be enough. Might not be enough, but better armor could definitely help a little bit. How much do we actually need to shave off? Well, you know what? 1 month isn't going to make a difference. $253 days. 253 days. 253 days. That's less than a year. That's a fair bit less than a year. So deployment time is not going to be a concern anyway. Okay, I'm just going to go with 3 smalls. With 2 smalls. It'll provide an extra component that can fail. 1 is too vulnerable. If the maintenance failure hits it's a single fuel tank with dead in the water, that's 2 points of failure. Not you. This is 2, so we can lose a fuel tank to maintenance without losing the ship. Or without crippling the ship. What's the DAC look like? Sensor is 1 to 5. Engines are 2. So the sensor is actually probably more likely to be hit than the engine. Yeah. So we're more likely to lose the sensor than we are to lose the engines. And we have... But the engine is, of course, the next most likely to actually be lost. So... we're going to have to roll with it. Okay. Mini Geo and Mini Grav. Stick that in there. Shave one of these out. Set it to 11. No. 111. 11. Although we could do 111 for 550. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Alright, as expected, we also only have 11 crew, which is fine. Yep. So, 11 crew. Okay, good, good, good. So, now that we have our fighters, what are we doing? So, we're going 2 gravitationals, 6 geo surveys. That's fine. I think what we might do... Ooh, I've got an idea. Ooh, I have a fantastic idea. Instead of a scout fighter, we're going to build a scout FAC, fast attack craft. Now, the difference between a fighter and a fast attack and a FAC is that a fighter has to be 500 tons or less, and a FAC has to be between 500 and 1,000. Now, the other difference is that a fighter can use a fighter beam fire control. So fighter only, and that multiplies your tracking speed by like 4 times. Yeah, multiplies the tracking speed 4 times. So a FAC still gets all the benefits of a fighter. Specifically, doesn't need a freighter and stuff like that. It doesn't need a bridge and stuff like that. But it loses the fighter only capacity of fighter control of beam fire controls. Also, I believe that it cannot be built using industry, so you do need a shipyard for it. That said, it's under 1,000 tons, which is just a default shipyard. So you build a shipyard and it can build a FAC. You can build it in literally any shipyard straight out of the box. The shipyard's expensive, yeah, but you can build one straight out of a box, so you don't need to build up a shipyard to be able to build them. So they're kind of in that little niche section where they're not quite as useful, but they're also not quite useless. Can we do it, though? Would it be worth it? Okay, what can we actually do? So, nuclear pulse, we are going with a power motor 0.5. Okay, if we get 2 of these engines, Okay, that gives us a tonnage of about 600. No, back down to normal uranium armor, please. Thank you. That drops us back. That gives us about 600 tonnage of stuff, but the speed is kind of crap. So even with 2, because we have twice the tonnage, we need twice the engines, but we still get the same speed. So I think if we up the power mod to 1, that will get us up to 2400, and that'll make us faster than the scout ships. That gonna work? That's gonna work. Very importantly, we can probably get away with 30,000 liters, which gives us 7 billion kilometers, which is great, and gives us a tonnage of 580. Now, what can we do with 580? 580 is about 11 hull size. So what we can do with that is we can actually use really big sensors. So we can use like 4. So we can use like 4 hull size? No, 5 hull size sensors. Since that's sensitivity of 25 compared to the 3 that we would have to use, which is 10, which is 15. So we get 10 extra sensitivity out of our FAC, and very importantly, it will be just a single ship, which would make it more expensive, but we would send the 2 fighters alongside each other anyway, so not a huge deal. So I think that's probably what we're gonna do. Okay, so little thermal sensor of 5 and an EM sensor of 5. There we go. EM is so that we can see if anybody's trying to shoot at us. That should be it. Deployment time of like, probably don't even need this, but 6 months will be fine. So 420 tons, we have 10 hull size, which is 500, that leaves us 80 tons at the moment. Wait a sec, we don't even have an engine yet. Shit, how heavy is our engine going to be? Engine tonnage is going to be 300 tons. We don't have 10 hull size. No, we should have 10 hull size. Hang on, what the hell is going on here? Oh, we have a bridge and engineering space. Okay. There we go. That's better. So that gives us about 600 tons worth of stuff. Dump the large fuel tank. 7 tons. Make it 3 smalls. 42. Yeah, that'll fit an engine. Okay. Let's go build us some engines. So we are going with a hull size of 3 and a power mod of, was it 1? Yes, 1. Do we need 1? Can we do 1.5? 2.5? Eh, maybe not. What about 1.3? 3.6 billion kilometers? 3.2? What about the other way? Maybe we can get 5 billion kilometers. Can we do 5 billion kilometers? 1.25, 1.2, we'll get us 4.4, 1.15 will get us, yeah, that'll do. Okay, so 2 size 3 engines with 1.15 power mod, so 1.15, good, done. Okay. And we are going to call this our nuclear pulse scout engine. Done. Okay, so we have the components we're going to be using. Power and propulsion. We cancel you again. Don't worry, one day you'll finish those. Okay. Wait a sec. No, not that thing. U-Pulse Scout Engine. That thing. Okay. What is this? Can't remember what that is. I think it's just junk tech. Okay. put you back on capacitor research and jump row efficiency. Sensors. We also need sensors, so we'll strip out 5 of these labs and put you onto our EM and thermal sensor. There we go. Okay. Let us keep going. Get those techs out. Okay, so that's the scout engine done. Okay, now we need more research on our sensors. Because the scientist isn't that crash hot. Shift another lab in there, good. Okay, that's an EM sensor. Now we just got to do a thermal one. Done. Okay. 1 to you, 1 to you, 1 to you, and you know what? I think we need to start working on getting some missiles. So no, we need rate of fire. Why are we doing velocity? Don't need velocity. Let's get rate of fire out because we need that for our better gas guns. Then we might as well get the ejection system chance and the efficiency, and then all the basic missile technologies. Good. Okay. All right. So now they've got a research done. Are we did zoning? Yep, we got everything. Awesome. Beautiful. Let's go back. Okay. So our scout ship. So Newcastle, which we need to rename to Survey Scout. Scout courier. Yeah, that can be a scout. It can be a scout courier. Okay. So we have 2 of our scout engines. We have our EM sensor and our thermal sensor, and that is 1,000 tons exactly. Bullseye. All right. That is perfect. Look at that. That's amazing. 4.9 billion, 20 days. That is fantastic scouting power. We've got a speed of 2750. Is that what we end up with? 2760. Close enough. There's a little bit of rounding just because it's not quite accurate with the armor mass. It's like fractionally inaccurate. It's like 89 compared to 1.8. Anyway, doesn't matter. Not important. Okay, we have exactly 1,000 tons. We don't have any maintenance life, but it only has to be out for 20 days. So we don't actually need 6 months of deployment time. Let's go for 1 month. Because it only has to get out and back. That actually gives us 50 tons. So we could potentially... no. Can we do 0.8? Yeah, okay, we can do 0.8. Oh, these can go fractional, by the way. 0.9. 99? 98. 97, 96, 95, 94. Nope, just 9. Okay. So 0.9 of a month, which is beyond our fuel range anyway. 30,000 liters is plenty of fuel. We have an actual maintenance life of 10 years. It's not enough to maintain something, but it'll stop it from breaking in the first place. So it's definitely guaranteed to. It's definitely pretty much guaranteed to never actually break. 20 days is 4 IFRs, and this starts at 0, so this isn't even going to get to 0.01 to begin with. So this ship will basically never ever break down as long as you keep it within its deployment period. As long as you're not doing something stupid with it, it's basically never going to break down. So crew of 31. So Survey Scout is actually I kind of like that mini theme. I'm going to rename this Mini Scout. Okay. And we are going for fighter. The other problem is it doesn't actually appear in the fighter, I think. Yeah, it doesn't appear in the fighter list, so we're going to have to add it in manually, because it's not actually a fighter. Which is a little bit annoying, but okay. 20. Okay, you know that lines up. Okay, so we have our payload ships. Let's go ahead and put our commercial engine in. All right, 433 billion kilometers. Yeah, that works. We're going to put a second one in just because I want some reasonable speed. And I guess it still gives us 353. Now, this ship isn't actually going to be running around a lot, so it's never going to use up all of this range on its own. It's basically just going to fly in and sit there. But that's what we have. Okay, so we've got a reasonable speed, we've got a reasonable tonnage. Here comes the hard part. This thing needs jump capability. So it needs to be able to jump itself. The question is, but now you get a chicken and egg issue. You need to be able to jump this tonnage, but then you also have to be able to jump the total tonnage of this plus your jump engine. But the bigger jump engine to jump this tonnage is going to need to be able to jump a bigger ship. So you kind of end up going round and round and round in circles until you end up with a final answer. But then just your speed dies in the arse, and then you have to add another engine, and then you have to do the whole thing over and over again. This makes it easy. So, military jump drive. We have starting text for jump drive. Let's load this up. So, no, not laser. Not microwave. Jump engine. Okay. So, come back here. Okay, so, military efficiency is 4. Squad is 3. Radius is 50, because we don't need those. So, what is our mass target? 14,400. Okay. 400. Now, the question is, how big of a jump drive do we need? Size 30 will give us a jump size of 6,000. Not enough. 60 is a jump size of 12,000. Not enough. 80, well, that'll jump us the ship, but then the drive tonnage is 4,000. So the calculation is actually wrong. I need to fix that now, actually. It should add that plus that needs to be higher than that. No, that needs to be higher than that plus that. So your actual total drive tonnage will need to be higher. So currently we need about 19,000 jump capacity. So 90? Nope. 100. 20,000. Okay, 20,000 with a 5,000 ton. This will fit. Probably. And therein lies the problem. This would turn our lovely little 14,000 ton command ship into a 20,000 ton lumbering hunk of junk. And then when we add ourselves our commercial engine... Oh, that needs to stay 50. So at the moment we have 2 engines, right? But to maintain our speed of 1388, well, at 2 engines with a tonnage of 20,000, we will lose about 388 kilometers a second. Now, that's not terrible, but 1,000 kilometers a second is actually slower than our damn scout ships. So, as it stands, it's not really that fantastic. What if could work? 1500 speed, it would make our scouts faster. Still get the same amount of fuel, same amount of range. Do we? That can't be right. Something's wrong there. I feel like there's something wrong there, but I'm not sure why. Yeah, something there is wrong. I'll have to look into it later. Yeah. Could this work? Maybe? Oh, no, that's why the range is staying the same. It's shifting. It's going to be shifting fuel tonnage down. No, we have tonnage override. I'll have to fix. Something's wrong here. I'll have to fix it later. We could wait for ion, but I don't think I want to. No, I don't think I want to. Okay. I really don't. Okay, 1400. 14,500, which is enough to jump the command ship. Don't override fuel. Nuclear pulse. With a commercial engine, don't override anything, and let's go for 1388 speed. Yeah, 1388 speed. Okay. Now we don't actually need this to be 1400 anymore, so let's drop it down to 75? 15,000. Okay, that'll do. Probably not quite as much as we need, but 74, 73, 72? No, 73. Okay. That could work. We could stick this on a completely separate ship. Because it's got commercial engines, it's got commercial jump drive, because it's all jump drives are commercial components. I can't remember if I mentioned that in the last episode, but all jump drives are actually commercial components. It's not much tonnage, and it's a high engine fraction. 2.0126. Really? Okay, just override 2. Okay. Yeah, that's reasonable. And we can stick a shit ton of fuel in that. Hold the phone. Hold on. Must be the crew. Hang on, if we have a 14,500 ton ship on here that does 1388 with 2 nuclear pulse engines for the speed that we're getting. Oh, because probably the range. If we do 2 million kilometers, yeah, okay. So it's the fuel that kills it. If it wasn't for the fuel, shit, why don't we just use a tanker to carry the damn fuel around? Because look, if we have a look at the calculator, right? If we're carrying the 2 million liters, so that we can have our 300 billion kilometer range, right? 2 million liters. How much does our actual tanker carry? Is that a tanker? No, it's not. Do we have a tanker? No, I don't think we do. But like even just a freighter has 750. Copy that. Right, we're waiting for the larger fuel storage. Dump that. Get rid of those. Swap these for the nuclear pulse. Stick a bunch of large fuel until we get 2 million. Okay, that's the fuel for our carrier. Stick another 2 large for the fuel for itself. Easy enough. Okay. We still have the high speed, but that's neither here nor there. That's 8,000 tons, right? 3,300 tons. So the tonnage for the fuel and for the engine doesn't count. How much tonnage is the tonnage for the fuel doesn't count, is included in that. All right, so that's the fuel tonnage. Why don't we put the jump engine on the command ship after all, and then just carry the fuel around in a tanker? That would be the smart thing to do. Okay. We're doing that. We're doing that. Okay. Ditch the fuel. Ditch all the fuel. Okay. We do need 1 large fuel tank. We'll take that with us. We got the 2 engines, because we do want the 2 engines. We got the maintenance storage bays and the hangar decks. We probably don't even need that much maintenance storage. 1,300 will be enough, because our max repair is 50. Well, it'll be higher once we have the jump engine, but we can probably get away with nothing out of it. And because if you have a look, right, if we drop the fuel to nothing, well, okay, let's make the fuel 1 large, 250,000. Okay, if we have 200,000 fuel, and then commercial nuclear pulse, 2 commercial nuclear pulses, we can get our 1,400. We can get our approximately 1,400 speed. We still get 43 billion kilometers with 1,400, but with our 1,600 jump drive, we still get 5,000 payload, which is exactly our hangar deck. We could make this work. Worst case scenario, we can just shave some fuel off and drop it down, because the crew is going to be the biggest issue, right? Fitting that much crew, and the jump drive also has almost as much crew as the entire ship, and then the flight crew berths might be an issue. So I think we can make this work, because we also have 200 tons of extra jump capacity, and we can always just make a 74 to get it up to 14,800. That's a couple hundred tons. Okay, we're doing this. We're doing this. Okay, 74. Oops. No, other way. No, other way. Daft thing. 74. Oh, while we're here, you'll notice that jump drives below a certain threshold have self-jump only. Any jump drive that is a self-jump jump drive ignores the squadron size. So the squadron size is set to 1, no matter what the technology is. So self-jump only is good for like single survey ships. If we were doing a single surveyor, then we'll be using potentially maybe a self-jump drive. Okay, 14,800 and 3,700 tons of jump engine. Yep, that's correct. We are going to call this our survey squad jump drive. Okay, now that's going to be an expensive piece of tech with 1,500 research points, but we can make this work. All right. Jump drives are in power and propulsion. Are they? Yes. Yes, they are. Good. I'm sorry, Ellis. I'm really sorry. Service squad jump drive, and we are going to pump a lot of our labs into it so we can get this done ASAP. Okay. And then put you back on capacitor. Hopefully it can actually stay there. And get jump drive efficiency and higher power mod for our missiles. Might as well get a lower power mod as well. Okay. This technology here reduces the size of a jump engine for full size. So this reduces that threshold for self-jumping. Okay, survey squad jump drive, research, go. You know what? Everybody stacks on. Take all the labs. I want this out ASAP. 6 mining colonies. Alright, we're now building fighter factories. Perfect. Alright, so that was... So, we're running out of episode now, so I'm just going to talk while we wait for it. So that was basically the basics of carriers. Now, designing fighters for combat is not that different from what we did today. The only difference is that instead of building the fighter around range and gun, instead of building around range and a survey sensor, you would be replacing the survey sensor with weaponry, and you will be replacing range with speed, because a combat fighter usually needs to be fast, not necessarily long range, right? Because it goes out, it does its job, it comes back. Fairly straightforward, right? So it doesn't need to be super fast. It doesn't need to have super long range. It just needs to be fast. Okay, so our jump drive is ready. Let's go bolt it into our carrier. Too small. Okay. Wow. 16. Okay. We broke something. I've missed something. What did I miss? How are we 2,000 tons over? Is it the armor? No, the armor's like 100 tons. Is it crew quarters? 12. 23. That's 10 hull size. That's 500 tons. That could be it. Still doesn't account for 2,000 tons though. Wait. Yeah, it's 2,000 tons excess. Okay, calculator, what's going on? Okay. We've got our 2 engines. We got our fuel. Gives a payload of 5,000. Jump drive of 14,800. Now this doesn't consider crew at all, so that's probably where it's going to be in excess, because 23 crew is about 2,000 tons of crew, a little bit more. So yeah, that's going to be it. Plus the armor is 500 tons. Okay, so we forgot the crew. Well, I forgot the crew. Fair enough. Shit. Guess this isn't going to work out after all. Okay. Not a huge deal, because we can just put that jump drive onto a different ship. Alright. We're going to try that anyway. So, we just put the jump drive on a different ship. There we go. That's done. We've got the engines, and we're just going to put large fuel. Yep. No, 14, 650, 14, 800. There we go. Now, why did I stick so much fuel on there? Because the one other thing to consider about jump drives is that for the tender ship itself, and this is called the tender, for the actual tender, the capacity of the jump capacity is the lowest of ship tonnage and jump drive. So if you put this jump drive onto a ship and put nothing else around it, then it's going to be able to jump, only going to be able to jump this much. So you have to make sure that the ship tonnage of your jump ship is identical to the jump drive. Now, it can be higher, but then the ship can't jump itself. It can be lower, but then you're wasting tonnage on the jump drive. So you want it to be absolutely identical. And you can always make sure here, as you just don't want that alert. I'll just show you real quick. There you go. Jump engine too small. You want that alert. You don't want that alert. So that's fine. We'll set this to be the tanker, and we are going to rename this to our. I'm going to call it the camel. And this will be jump tender. There we go. Okay. 14,800 isn't too bad. Would have been fun to get the jump engine on this thing and then just have it carry around all its fuel, but gets the job done. It still have 12,000. It still has a good amount of speed on it. It still has enough fuel to reload its fighters. Does it? 60,000. No, we need another one. Okay, that'll do. Still has lots of fuel. Still has the survey ships that we wanted, and we'll need to add the FAC on there. But this is a reasonable early tech set of ships that will get us what we need. One last thing, flight crew berths. Let's not forget those. How much do we need? Now, this doesn't actually tell us, which is super annoying. Would be great if it did. Would be great if it automatically adjusted the flight crew berth for it as well. But you do have to figure it out yourself. So, actually, what will be great is if we actually put a tractor beam on this thing, because then we can tractor the tender to the carrier and have them fly alongside, and that way, well, they can share engine power. Maybe? Nah. Doesn't matter. Nah, it's fine. What was I saying? Okay, so Mini G has 11. Well, it's 11 for each. So it's 11 times 8, because we have 6 of one, 2 of the other, and one of these, which is 31, gives us 119. I think it actually... Do we have a crew loadout? No. Okay. So how many do we have? 119. So we need 119 spare berths on our command carrier. Now, when you're building a carrier, it's important that you click the Keep Excess Queue, because that will let you put excess flight berths. If you don't tick this, it will automatically trim them out, and then you'll never be able to do it. So make sure that's ticked. Alright, while you're at it, you can also scrub out all these small ones once you get a bigger one in, because there's no point running small ones, because you might as well run big ones. So, 116, is that enough? No, one more. 119. Perfect. Beautiful, excellent, wonderful, fantastic, amazing, glorious. Okay. So that is going to be our survey ships. So, we have designed them. Next, we need to build them. This is a commercial ship, so I'm just going to shove it in one of the commercial hangars, commercial shipyards. This thing is, well, it lives forever, but it is a military ship. So we'll just stick this in our... We've got 13.3 thousand tons. So it will actually have to be tooled into the Hammond shipbuilding. So I will... I'll want to rename that. I'll rename it between episodes, because we have here an hour and I don't want to be trying to come up with it. So we are going to tool for the camel. and we're going to retool for the currently named Amphion. Once I rename it, and we have 22 fighter bays, so we are going to build. There is one other thing that we need as well before we start building the fighters, and I'll design it in between, and I'll show you. It's essentially a PDC with a hangar bay, so we can stick it, because fighters cannot be maintained by the maintenance facility. So if you build them, you have to stick them in a hangar immediately. So keep that in mind. But that's the end of it for now. I'm gonna cut the episode here, as I have hit an hour 4 minutes ago. So I will see you in the next episode, where we start building our survey fleet and our fighters, and we start putting the ships into operation in exploring our exploring Sol. I might actually build a couple of our grav surveyors and just get them sending out while our hangar PDC builds. Maybe, because the Nibbler's almost done. We're done in December. Okay, putting a break. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. But what I might do is I might actually offer real quick, if you want to name the ship, there's one name I have in mind. Not sure if it's really appropriate for a survey carrier, but if you want to name a ship, let me know in the comments down below, or drop me a line on Reddit or Discord, and we'll see if we can name the class after something interesting. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.